Thank you all for being here today. I really wish that I had the available time to speak with each of you because I think it's just so important. And I'm encouraged that we are taking the necessary steps to ensure that TANF, non-assistance spending has appropriate oversight. In reviewing the GAO's statement for the record, highlighting the forthcoming report from Chairman Smith and Chairman LaHood requested to investigate TANF's non-assistance spending, one of the things that disturbed me was how widespread and repetitive TANF waste, fraud, and abuse is in our country, and how weak our accounting systems are to catch and correct it. According to the GAO, 99 of the 155 audit findings have repeated for at least 1 year. In my home state of West Virginia, they've had the same internal control deficiency finding reported for 15 years, and nothing has been done to correct it. Mr. Favre, do you believe more scandals like the one that you found yourself involved in Mississippi is possible across the country if we don't act now to reform and bring more transparency and accountability to TANF?
100%, absolutely. If it can happen in my state, it can happen in any state. And you just spoke on the statistics, and it's kind of frightening, to be honest with you, what is being wasted.
Well, thank you for that answer, and I'm sure there's a lot more that you could say. I'll talk to Mr. Adelson a little bit as well. TANF is our nation's primary welfare program, but it's my understanding is that there are no federal guidelines about eligibility and that there are issues about how funding is allocated to the states. We know TANF is not allocated to each state based on the number of families in poverty, but based on your testimony, we know that you believe TANF could be better utilized if that were the case. For example, in West Virginia, we've historically had a higher poverty rate compared to the rest of the country, and that would mean that my home state would need more funds to address the unique challenges and demographics of my rural community. What can we do on the federal level to make sure that TANF money is actually getting to families in poverty and to states with the highest rates of poverty?
Thank you, Representative, for that question. Just to mention, one of the things we could do right now to stop this from happening is to actually enforce some of the rules we do have. So California has been out of compliance for 15 years with their work participation rate. HHS has said that there's $1 billion in fines, essentially, that they should levy, but they've written that down to $60 million. We have these audits that you mentioned that the GAO is looking at. The first and easy step is just to act on those basic oversight measures that we can already take. And I think just the question of the funding is exactly right question. How do we make sure there's money in these programs, right? There's unobligated funds, there's carryover funds, there's a large outlay of funding to the states. We need to make sure it gets targeted down to the folks who need it the most. We need to get into the rural areas, into the areas of each state with the highest levels of poverty, where they need some case assistance to help get back on their feet. And the way that can be done is by making sure states use most of that funding to meet the core objectives, because those are going to target those in poverty directly.
Well, the criteria, is there any other criteria other than poverty rates that you believe actually could be prioritized when determining which families receive the TANF funds so that we can ensure that the neediest families get it?
Yeah, good question. It should be, there should be some income thresholds associated with this support, and not just the cash support in the states, but also these other job assistance programs, education attainment. Again, California spends $1 billion a year on tuition for higher education, for college. Well, that is not directly for the purpose of the program when that has no income threshold on it, and you have families well above the poverty line, 6 figures, getting those tuition grants.
So they're working the system.
That has to stop in order to make sure we can target the funds to those who are truly in need.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I yield back my time. Thank you.